We're going to move on over to a more darker story here, and that is Cuatrero, Rogelio Reyes. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he has been sentenced, as we knew was going to be happening. This in the domestic violence and attempted femicide charges that he was found guilty of, and he has been sentenced to 12 years and 8 months in prison in Mexico after being found guilty. Now, because he did serve 2 years, he is going to be given credit for that. It is possible that with good behavior, he could serve even fewer years than that. One Mexican news outlet has reported that Stephanie Vaquer is likely to file an appeal seeking a lengthier sentence here. This, of course, coming from the March 2023 incident where Vaquer filed a criminal complaint alleging that Cuatrero, who she had been in a relationship prior, had grabbed her by the throat, threw her against the wall, and this was obviously a very big story in Mexico. Reyes, part of an extended wrestling family, the son of Cian Caras, and of course with his brother Sanson and cousin Forastero. They were a very, very popular trio in both CMLL and AAA. So, I mean, he is going to be going to jail. It will be a question of like how many years he is ultimately going to serve, if Vaquer will in fact push for a harsher sentence here. But this, certainly could be the end of his career. And it was one, though, that we should say, like when he did get out of prison, he had been doing independence earlier this year. And I think we can look at like cases like, I don't know if you heard this story, but Alberto recently just did an independent show, and they did comedy spots based on his like domestic violence story. It's like the idea that Cuatrero would not have a career at some point. I don't think you can completely close that door. And in Mexico, it's like if you have a name attached to you, you will have a million and one chances to screw up again.
Yeah. The Alberto stuff is what came to mind for me seeing this news, and all of the, I mean, not just even second or third or fourth chances, but just the conscious willingness that people have to turn a blind eye about it. I hadn't heard the fact that Vaquer might be able to appeal the sentencing, but one way or the other, I hope this gives her some degree of kind of closure and security, dealing with obviously a horrible part of her life, and that she can kind of continue on with her career with a little bit less weight on her shoulders. I think it's also kind of worth remembering that, there were a number of people within the industry who were part of protests to free Reyes, and that this is, I don't know. I mean, it's probably wishful thinking to ask those people to reflect on that behavior. I get the sense, reading between the lines, that some of the support from him came kind of out of the political understanding that, look, this is somebody whose name and whose family carries a lot of weight in Mexico, in comparison to Vaquer, not only obviously being, a woman and everything that comes with that in terms of respect being given, but, also a recent immigrant to Mexico who'd only been in CML for a couple of years. To be really cynical about this, I imagine now that Vaquer is in the position she is in 3 years later, any of those people will maybe be a lot more quiet in their support of Cuatrero. But, again, not to be idealistic, but hopefully the next time something like this happens, a victim of domestic violence is not going to have to become a champion in the world's biggest promotion in order for people to believe and support her. But yeah, your points about the parallels or the track record that we have for folks with similar stains and black marks on their name still continuing to get some degree of work in Mexico is troubling. Yeah,
I mean, he's a guy that, his birth date is unknown, but he's believed to be born in 96. So that would peg him at around, 29, 30 years of age. But, he's going to do real time for this. And that remains to be seen of what the ultimate, if in fact there is an appeal to the sentence, or, I mean, he's still looking at 10 years in prison, and even with good behavior, it's going to be many years that he's going to spend in prison over this.
It's also, for those of us living in Canada or the United States, I imagine a lot of us weren't really familiar with the legal concept of femicide as a specific charge in Mexico. And if folks aren't aware, that is the idea being that there is a special categorization of violence, assaults, attempted murders that are committed on the basis because the victim is a woman, very similar to, hate crime legislation. So I've tried to learn a little bit about that and read up a little bit about that over the past couple of years as well.
If the Post Wrestling Cafe were to undergo a drug test in the month of May, we would be testing positive because we are overloaded with content. We are going to be reviewing Hulk Hogan, Real American, all 4 episodes this month. Plus, we will go inside the Manosphere with a review of the latest Louis Theroux documentary. We will also have coverage of the Ronda Rousey-Gina Carano fight, also taking place on Netflix. Rewind Away tackles WCW Super Brawl 2, and we cover NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from 2015. All that, plus all of the XL editions on a weekly basis, Collision Course, Daredevil Born Again, and so much more. It can all be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com. $8 gets you in the door.